Hello, I'm Danielle Sweetman Richoux, and today I'm presenting my study titled Preparation of Teachers to Teach Diverse Populations Through New Teacher Induction Programs, a Quantitative Study. I'd like to give a special acknowledgement to Dr. Davis, Dr. Singuris, Dr. Smith, and the EDD Writing Center. In my presentation, first I will cover the problem statement and the basis for this study. Then I will cover the purpose statement and research questions that guided this quantitative study. I will then describe the theoretical framework. Next, I cover the methodology design and data collection, review the statistical findings related to both research questions. Then I will review the related literature and how it connects to my research questions. Finally, I will conclude with the implications of this study, the limitations, and the distribution plan. The cultural competence of novice teachers significantly influences the academic success of racially diverse students. Effective teaching is achieved when educators integrate students' background knowledge, cultural experience, and perspectives into their teaching approaches. The preparedness of teachers, especially those newly inducted into the profession, plays a pivotal role in the academic achievement of diverse student populations. The purpose of this study is to evaluate the teachers' preparedness in Westo, Georgia to teach diverse populations through new teacher induction programming. For this quantitative research study, I posed two research questions. Research question 1 asks if a significant difference exists in the readiness of Muskogee County and Westo County teachers to teach culturally and ethnically diverse students. The null hypothesis presumes no difference, while the alternative predicts a notable difference. This question seeks to pinpoint variances in culturally responsiveness between the two counties. Research question 2 asks if there's a difference in the cultural preparedness of novice versus experienced educators. The null hypothesis suggests no discernible difference, while the alternative hypothesis predicts a significant difference. This exploration considers the impacts of tenure and the experience on teaching practices. This study is framed and anchored in the theoretical framework of culturally sustaining pedagogy. Culturally sustaining pedagogy is a theory that was put forth by Paris in 2012 that urges educators to prioritize and integrate students' diverse cultural, linguistics, and life experiences into their teaching approaches. Culturally sustaining pedagogy views students as active learners, urging educators to draw from their cultural wealth and experiences, while recognizing the intersections of cultural differences within socioeconomic and educational inequalities. The research questions were designed to gauge how well the teachers are prepared to adopt culturally sustaining pedagogy principles in their classrooms, and to identify how well the new teacher induction program prepares them to use culturally sustaining pedagogy. To address research questions 1 and 2, I used a quantitative approach. This approach involved the administration of Richoux's culturally responsive teacher preparedness scale to teachers who have undergone the new teacher induction program in Westo and Muskogee counties within the city of Westo, Georgia. This approach facilitated a comparison of the preparedness levels between novice and seasoned educators, as well as between teachers from both counties. The study's inclusion of educators from Westo and Muskogee counties intentionally captured a comprehensive view of the teaching landscape, marked by varied socioeconomic and racial demographics. Participants were selected through non-probability criterion and snowball sampling, focusing on educators who had completed new teacher induction programming within Title I schools in either Westo or Muskogee County. I utilized social media as a recruitment tool, which resulted in 30 participants. The Culturally Responsive Teacher Preparedness Scale, which is a Likert scale type survey, provided data on the teacher's self-assessed preparedness. The data, once collected, underwent a meticulous cleaning and coding process, which paved the way for an in-depth statistical analysis. Preliminary descriptive statistic offered initial glimpses into the demographic composition of the sample. I then checked the assumptions of normality of the data through the Shapiro-Wilks test, confirming that both novice and experienced teacher sample groups data met the standards of normality. Once the standards of normality were established, I then conducted an independent samples t-test for both research questions. An overview of the findings for research question 1. The results from the independent samples t-test for research question 1 indicate no statistically significant difference in the preparedness of teachers from Muskogee County and Weststow County to teach culturally and ethnically diverse students effectively. The findings of the study suggest the level of cultural responsiveness, as gauged by the culturally responsive teacher preparedness scale, is comparable across both counties. The results for research question 1 highlight the importance of a consistent and comprehensive training program across both counties. The results from the independent samples t-test for research question 2 indicate no statistically significant difference in the preparedness of novice and experienced teachers to teach culturally and ethnically diverse students effectively, suggesting that the level of cultural responsiveness, as measured by the culturally responsive teacher preparedness scale, is comparable regardless of teaching experience. Research has delved deeply into the educational landscape, revealing the opportunity gap is not merely a contemporary concern, but is firmly rooted in historical, political, and cultural context. One pivotal strategy that stands out in addressing this gap is culturally sustaining pedagogy. Harris, 2020, Gay, 2018, Latin Billings, 1989, and Salinas and Rodriguez, 2020, have demonstrated evidence that confirms culturally sustaining pedagogy's profound influence on academic success, underscoring its significance in the modern educational paradigm. The opportunity gap, which has been the focus of educational discourse for over 6 decades, underscores the differences in academic achievements between various student groups, particularly Black students compared to their white peers. Traditional discussions around this gap often adopt a deficit perspective. Emphasizing underperformance rather than structural barriers that inhibit equitable educational opportunities. Shifting this perspective from an achievement gap to an opportunity gap emphasizes the systemic challenges rather than individual student deficiencies. The roots of the opportunity gap can be traced back to America's history of slavery, racial discrimination, and socioeconomic disparities. Key events such as the establishment of the freedom schools and legal challenges posed by Plessy versus Ferguson have historically segregated and disadvantaged Black learners. Although policies have attempted to address this disparities, systemic challenges persist. Over the past 150 years, education policies such as the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, No Child Left Behind, and Every Student Succeed Act have aimed to equalize educational opportunities. However, despite these efforts, the opportunity gap remains a significant issue, with a notable disparity between Black and white students. This disparity suggests that merely providing equitable funding or standardizing testing mechanisms does not address the root causes of the opportunity gap. The importance of confronting our historical biases is stated clearly in academic research from Gay, 2018, Latin Billings, 1989, Darling Hammond et al., 2009, and Gorski and Swalwell, 2015. If we are to understand and rectify the current educational disparities, we must first grasp how past events and policies have contributed to today's landscape. Providing ongoing professional development to teachers on culturally relevant pedagogy is proven to help change this educational landscape. Culturally relevant pedagogy can help confirm the findings by confronting historical biases head-on. By delving into the historical context, educators can understand how historical injustices have shaped present-day educational disparities and challenge deficit-based perspectives, and implement culturally relevant teaching practices, which affirm students' identities. As a result, ongoing professional development reinforces the literature's claim that addressing the historical and systemic roots of the opportunity gap is essential for transformative change. Culture is not just about the shared behaviors or belief. Merriam and Byram state that it also encapsulates a group of historical, economic, political, and moral experiences. A comprehensive understanding of culture means recognizing its evolution, adaptations, and the broader societal structures that and experiences that shape it. Approaches such as culturally relevant pedagogy, culturally responsive teaching, and culturally sustaining pedagogy are crucial in integrating students' background for a holistic educational experience. Latz and Billings, Geneva Gay, and Paris and Alm are the researchers who have researched culturally relevant pedagogy, culturally responsive teaching, and culturally sustaining pedagogy. All of these culturally responsive and sustaining pedagogy is an essential framework that acknowledges and utilizes students' diverse backgrounds and experiences to promote more effective learning. This approach is rooted in the belief that acknowledging and integrating students' cultural context fosters a deeper understanding and leads to better academic outcomes. The intersection of culturally responsive and sustaining pedagogy with critical race theory and public discourse has led to misconceptions about its goals and application in educational settings. While critical race theory focuses on race-related systemic issues, culturally responsive and sustaining pedagogy offers practical strategies for educators to integrate students' cultural background into the curriculum. The findings from research question 2 are corroborated by the studies of Gay, Salinas and Rodriguez, Latson and Billings, and Paris and Alm. All show that the universal need for continuous training in culturally responsive teaching, regardless of a teacher's experience level. The US faces a pressing teacher shortage, amplified by a high attrition rate. This challenge is more pronounced in schools predominantly serving historically marginalized students, further widening the educational opportunity gap. One promising solution in the academic research is new teacher induction programming. New teacher induction programming provides holistic support to teachers through orientation, mentorship, and consistent guidance. As a result, schools with effective new teacher induction programs report increased teacher satisfaction, reduced attrition, and elevated student performance. Building on our study's finding and drawing again from Gay, Latson and Billings, Paris and Alm, and Darling, Hammond et al., this study highlights that ongoing, in-depth training isn't a luxury for teachers, it's a necessity. The implications of this study. The findings of this study underscore the significance of ongoing culturally relevant training. Policies must consistently back robust professional development centered on culturally relevant teaching methods. Administrators should champion the cause, prioritizing and financing professional development and mentoring initiatives, which emphasize culturally responsive practices. Policymakers have the mandate to cultivate an ecosystem that supports culturally responsive teaching. This entails policy formulation and investing in research to understand the tangible impacts of pedagogies on student success. Teacher educators are the bridge between academic theory and classroom realities. Teacher educators must integrate culturally responsive teaching methods into their curricula and engage with local communities, allowing future educators to grasp the nuances of teaching diverse student groups. At the educational forefront are teachers. Teachers should foster collaboration, share insights, and continually develop their skills through professional development focused on cultural relevancy. Future studies might consider expanding the research scope to include multiple states or regions, capturing a more comprehensive picture of new teacher induction programs' effectiveness across varied contexts. Qualitative methodologies like interviews or focus groups could provide deeper insights into the teaching experience, perceptions, and challenges. Tracking the growth and development of teachers over an extended period of time could yield insights into the long-term impacts of new teacher induction programming and how it influences teacher retention rates, classroom effectiveness, and student outcomes. The limitations of this project are as follows. The narrow participant selection, reliance on self-supported survey data, and the small sample size could affect the generalizability of my findings. Moreover, my study's geographic scope was limited by 2 counties, which may not represent the entire state's population. In addition, this study started as a mixed methods design, and due to time and resource constraints, became a quantitative study, limiting the sample size further. Despite these limitations, my research provides insights into teachers' preparedness for culturally responsive teaching and highlights the effectiveness of new teacher induction programming. This study sheds light on the crucial role of culturally responsive teaching in fostering inclusive learning environments. Engaging key educational stakeholders is vital to translate this insight into tangible actions. The findings from this research will be presented at educational seminars and conferences tailored for administrators. Using dynamic presentations complemented with illustrative case studies, I will aim to provide administrators with actionable strategies that resonate with their leadership roles. Policymakers hold the keys to institutional and systemic change. Thus, detailed research articles will be published in reputable academic journals, spotlighting the significant positive outcomes driven by culturally responsive teaching. I hope to influence future policy directions by targeting publications frequently consulted by policymakers. Teacher educators shape the future of teaching. By publishing in journals that they frequent, I will emphasize the need to weave culturally responsive pedagogy into the very fabric of teacher preparation. The focus will be on real-world strategies and the pivotal role of school-community partnership. Teachers who are on the front lines deserve hands-on, actionable insights. I will offer teachers professional development workshops and interactive webinars, equipping them with strategies, resources, and a comprehensive understanding of the importance of culturally responsive teaching practices. As we wrap up, let's recenter on the heart of our study. It's about fostering a vibrant educational environment where every student's cultural essence is recognized and celebrated. The findings, implications, and strategies we've discussed today pave the way towards this goal. It's a call to action, urging every stakeholders, from teachers to policymakers, to champion inclusive educational practices. In our pursuit for equity, let's ensure every child in places like Westo, Georgia, and beyond thrives in an environment that cherishes their unique cultural identity. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.